Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back to Always Almost There, Day After Show Live. We are here today to talk about last night's very, very cool and very, very special performance at the Shed in New York City. I'm here joined by my friend Garrett. Garrett, how are you today?
I am good. I am very tired. Got home and finally got to sleep around like 1:30 and then was up at 4:30 to hop on a flight back to Seattle. And now I'm already in the office. So fun times.
That's called being a professional right there. You're doing it right. But yeah, last night was a lot of fun. Before we dive in, of course, I'd be remiss if I did not congratulate the Philly Tumble on winning Jam of the Year just a few hours ago. Not what I agreed with personally or wanted to happen, but I'm very excited for all those very fervent Philly Tumble supporters who have been lobbying for it for several months and getting the three-peat on the bracket challenge. Uncle Fred's Jive once again. I don't know how he does it, but he will be receiving a third Golden Strange Man in the mail soon, hand gilded by our very own Neil. But anyway, that's crazy. But thank you to everybody for another amazing Jam of the Year season. We will have more commentary on it coming up soon. But yeah, it was awesome. But let's talk about last night, Garrett. We both, when this was announced last week, you traveled further than I did, but we were both like, there's no way I'm missing this. Talk me through, was there any sort of hesitation booking a cross-country flight to come to this event?
It was more of the how do I finagle PTO or figure out how to make this work. But given I work for a global company that has offices everywhere, I looked up where I could work, and there was an office a block away. So I was able to still badge in and work, and that made it so that I was able to do this trip without taking PTO. So flights were very inexpensive. Have enough points from travel this year, and the biggest thing was tickets, and got very, very lucky with making it into the queue early.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was really cool. I mean, similar for me, not the figuring out work part, but there was no doubt in my mind. I was like, I read the words all improv set, and I was like, okay, I need to be in the room for this. I don't care what it is. I don't care what else is happening. If Goose is doing an all improv set, I will be there. And so, yeah, I was so excited. We did an amazing group of friends yesterday, hanging out before the show. So it was really cool that, so many of our friends, unfortunately, not everybody I knew who wanted to got in, but it was cool to see that, with such a small capacity, there was around 800 people there last night, I believe. But with such a small capacity, it felt like, we knew pretty much everybody in the room. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. And the pre-show hang as well. It's just really nice when these bigger event shows come up where people are able to get together, and we'll have another big one before MSG down the street.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it was a fun group of people there. Just unfortunate that not everyone could get in.
Yeah,
it was a very tough ticket. There was not even Miracles and StubHub and Cash or Trade was very, very light.
Very. Yeah, it was it was one of those where a Cash or Trade pops up and it's gone, or it has 100 offers within a minute. Yeah. But so walking in, Luna is kind of a, looking at it and reading about it before, I kind of figured it's like a, diet Meow Wolf of sorts, kind of lesser extent than the craziness you see at a Meow Wolf. But it was a cool, art installation. And so, you walked in, there was some merch on the ground floor as well as a bar. Merch, it was cool. They had old thrift shirts with the logo from last night's show, kind of screen printed on top. So kind of a cool vibe there. There were some posters, hats, etc. They didn't have poster tubes, which I thought was interesting and was a big reason why I didn't get a poster last night. But yeah, unfortunate there. But it was cool seeing all the different thrift designs before heading upstairs.
Yeah, and also to note with the thrift designs, they also had tags that the band members signed as well. So yeah, it was those were cool. A little expensive. I think they were like $100 each. Um, but yeah, the merch was nice. There was plenty of posters and plenty of everything else. I think it's still up on the store now.
Yeah, it's online.
But yeah, they had tubes at the very, very beginning, but they did not have enough for the amount of posters. So
Yeah,
yep, wearing my purple hoodie from last night, and
nice.
yeah, and then after merch, they put you in another line to then go upstairs into the exhibit.
Hmm. So you walk through the exhibit, and it was really cool. They had actors dressed up as characters from the albums, from the songs. So there was like, the monkeys from Animal. Milo Believe was coming around with a notepad asking people to write down like, like lines of poetry or like some words or something, which you didn't know what that was going to be used for. So it was really cool, how that was kind of factored into the performance. Yeah.
But major shout out to the person that put the zip line quote
Yes.
on there.
Yes. Major shout out to you. That was amazing. And I'm glad that of all the ones on the page, Rick was like definitely using that one. But so yeah, so you had the monkeys, Milo Believe, you had a Discount Miracle. There was the leopard skin lady on roller skates. Tons of characters.
Bumblebee and a bee catcher. A guy with a dumbbell, like a barbell that he was carrying around. If the character was on the cover of the Everything Must Go album, it showed up last night, or a lot of them.
There was an iguana also.
Yep.
But it was cool. It was cool hearing what they did, how they did the house music. They kind of advertised it was like, there's a DJ, like a modular synth that will be taking stems from the album and kind of remixing them. So you kind of got there was the room where you could listen to snippets of the album on vinyl, but then there on the house music before and after the show were these stems. So you kind of got snippets of what some of the stuff sounds like, but you didn't get any of the actual song. So I thought it was cool. Heard a little bit of your direction. But yeah, it was really interesting as we waited. And shout out to you for getting an absolutely phenomenal spot on the quote unquote rail right behind Cotter, because the band was in the round in the middle of this room, with the amusement park type things around. But we were right in front of the Ferris wheel, right behind Cotter, which gave us a pretty great view of the whole band.
Yeah, me and my friend Benji and some other people went in a little bit early, and what was cool is before the DJ went on, there was just no house music, so you could hear the album being played from the vinyl.
Nice.
So I got to hear a little bit of Redbird and an Animal and one more that I'm blanking off the top of my head. And excited to hear the full thing in a month or so. And then we got in and we were gonna be behind the saxophone where Stuart Bogey set up, but we were like second row, and a guard was like, "Go behind the drums. That's actually where you want to go. You'll have a view of the rest of the band because they're
shout out to that guy."
So shout out to that guy.
And I think also it looked like a lot more people stayed on like that other side because there was more room. So we could only have like three people deep where we were behind the drums. So I think we ended up with a little more space for as close as we were. So that was a story.
Yeah, it was between the drums and the Basquiat. So it was just a very very tight space. People avoided that as much as they could.
Yeah. Well, we didn't. So the band came on around 8:30. So we'd been hanging out in there for a while, but they came on around 8:30 and played 80 minutes of just jamming. And I mean, I would hope and assume that this is going to be released in some fashion pretty soon. There were cameras filming the whole thing. Obviously, I assume they recorded the audio. But it was cool because, first of all, they're in the round, which is not something they usually get while they're playing to an audience. Rick, especially, where he was facing us, but like I would say probably 80% of the audience was at his back. So, I'm curious from his perspective, obviously he's so used to looking at the audience, and having it directly at his back was crazy. But, smaller pedal board for him and for Trevor, small kit for Cotter. Peter just had his Nord stage and the OB6 and Moog Muse synths, and I believe the sequencer, which he was using for some arpeggiator action throughout the jam. But what was interesting to me, at least in the early part of the jam, I realized like 10 minutes in, I was like, oh shit, like I need to take some notes here, like because I'm not gonna be able to listen back to this tomorrow. But for me, it kind of started where I think Goose does this thing whenever they do a jam like this, and you hear it on TED tapes. It's like there's this like rocking peak that they hit to. That's kind of like that first peak of Leo from TED Tapes 2024, and they started in that kind of zone. It's really that like ride cymbal pattern that Cotter does that's very distinctive to me. And I was interested from the get-go how Stuart Bogey was gonna be kind of integrated into the band. It's a really cool idea having him there, as playing sax and clarinet, because I felt that he was really good at knowing when to be in the music and when to be really there and when to just like hang out,
Yep.
and not play, which there was long stretches of that. And there was one section where he was just like vibing out, which was funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, what did you think of the early part?
I would like to back up just a second for them entering on stage, which was kind of cool.
Yes.
So yeah, everyone's just standing there. There's no like actual entrance. There's just the fence around the stage, and then these animals just start walking from different directions. I think Rick was a wolf or werewolf. I think Cotter was a lion.
Peter was a monkey.
Peter and Stuart Bogey were monkeys, and then Trevor was the otter, the wizard otter from the front cover. And then they just came on stage and took the mask off and then got into it. I think it started a little bit slow, like they were just trying to kind of feel their way into the jam, and then it started to pick up. It was interesting where we were standing because we didn't necessarily have a stack facing us, so it heard a lot more Cotter than anything else in the mix. So I am excited to eventually get an audio and video recording of this to hear some of the layers and stuff that we might have missed, especially from Peter.
Yeah. But, Peter was also at a disadvantage too because his instruments are the only ones that don't have stage volume. There's a guitar amp, there's a bass amp, there's drums, there's a saxophone. And the keyboards are all direct to board. So he was only coming out of the stacks, which, it was tough to hear what he was doing a lot of the time, which also it felt like he was hanging back also, because I felt like I could hear what he was doing when he was playing. And there were parts where he was really going heavy on the marimba or the arpeggiator stuff. But it felt like he was sticking to more minimalist and kind of supporting work as opposed to, being more aggressive or in a leadership role.
Yeah, and it was interesting that he didn't bring his guitar with. It was all keys, Peter, last night.
Yeah, I figured that would be the case just for like ease of setup and mixing and everything. And I think in a situation like this, Peter likes to stick to keys. Like I feel like two guitar jamming is more of a stage thing for him. Like think of the Chateau sessions. It was all keys completely. So yeah. And then, Rick starts to work in the vocalizing, which I was a little bit apprehensive about at first. I was like, okay, like, I get it, but like, I want to hear Rick play guitar more. But I like the way that he worked it in and, kind of would loop some of the auto-tuned vocal lines, and then like play them backwards for a bit. Garrett, you did video large chunks of last night, and they're on your YouTube channel and you've shared them on socials. So go check out @GarNTD, wherever you are on social media, and he's posted these videos. But yeah, I just want to talk about really like the last 25 or so minutes of this. The first hour is like amazing jamming. There's some really cool segments, like there's some dark stuff, some rocking stuff, etc. They go through a few movements, and then one of the things that I think exists in the jam band world a lot is like, talking about like Fish 2.0, for example. And I remember Paige said this, I think in the It documentary, it was like, there's a space that you get to 25 minutes into a jam that you can't do 10 minutes into a jam. You need to have everything that comes before it, before you get this inspiration. So the stuff that comes before might not be the most inspiring or interesting jams, but you get to this point and suddenly there's a breakthrough. And that happened around an hour into the set. last night. And
Yes.
Garrett, you start us off. Talk about this.
If we're thinking of the same part, there was a part where they were like playing and playing, it was loud, and then they brought it down very,
Yeah,
very quiet. I am a very big Dave Matthews Band fan on top of being a Goose fan, and the like quiet band with saxophone playing over it is something that Dave Matthews Band does a lot, especially the outros of their song. And it was just really nice to have that quiet moment after a lot of heavier stuff, and just some beautiful saxophone lines over it. And then they went into this. I forget if this was first or second. There was like a New Orleansy type vibe ish. That was a really nice 10-minute chunk there, and then they got dark and heavy to end.
yeah,
And that was just
that was the
that was
highlight
it was
by
like,
far.
I need another hour of this.
Right.
Like,
It's like
why is
now they're
this
really
the
going. Like, yeah, what happens if they keep playing? But yeah, that when they got really quiet, and then Cotter started doing that like heartbeat kind of thing. It was on the sample pad, but it was just like a bump 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 bump, and like repeating. And they just kind of built this beautiful soundscape over it. You know, Peter on synth textures, Trevor playing beautiful melodic stuff, and then this is when Rick starts doing the, you know, I'm just here for the zip line thing, which was great. I at that point I was really focusing on the music and not really paying attention to what he was saying. And you turned to me and you were like, "Did you watch I Think You Should Leave?" And I was like, "Yeah, why?" And you were like, "Listen what Rick's saying." I was like, "Oh my god!" Shout out to Connor, Long Strange Niche, who got me to watch that show like a year ago. But that was very exciting. But yeah, no. Then as you mentioned, from there, you know, the intensity kind of gets up, and they get into that jungle vibe. And then Bogey and Rick start like trading licks. And again, it's just like, oh my god, like this is what's happening. And then I thought it was ending there. Like there was another false ending, and then there's just like, before they build into that super heavy part, there's like a minute or so that like I thought they were going to start playing a Pink Floyd song. Like it's just like super intense, spacey psychedelia.
Yep.
And I was like, whoa. I was thinking to myself at that part, like, imagine if Peter had his clav right now. Like he would have done some like crazy reverb stuff. But yeah, and then that ending segment, you know, listening to my video of it this morning, it kind of reminded me of like a minor key, heavier Morning Dew in the progression they were doing and the way that Rick was approaching the solo there. But yeah, that was absolutely phenomenal and an amazing way to close it out. I did kind of think that maybe they were going to do like a hot tea or a, you know, like throw a song at the end
Or an
fun.
a new album
Yeah,
song.
or like Thatch. Yeah, shout out to Josh Turn Clouds for dubbing it Jive 4. It's
nice. Yeah, one of the other cool things that has started to come across on some people's videos and pictures, and I didn't notice it as much last night where we were, but they had a lot of the carnival rides that started going off during the show. So you had these. The stage itself was kind of dark. There was a circular ring above the stage, and then there were these light bars around. But then once the carnival rides were going off, it just created a really, really cool atmosphere and vibe that hopefully gets picked up on when they eventually release the YouTube video. It seems like there were new videographers there beyond the typical Goose crew. So interested to see what comes of this.
I heard that there was like it was because there's like rules with that specific venue that they have to use a specific production company for it. But yeah, shout out to Getty. He was up on the balcony, you know, looking down at everything, which is cool. I will say whether it had to be the fog machines or not, I wish there had been a little bit of fog in the room, so the lights from the above circle could have, like, you know, hit the crowd a little more, because like I looked up at one point and I was like, whoa, like he's doing really cool shit, but you can't really tell when you're looking at the band. But those light bars on the stage were amazing. And yeah, as you mentioned, the use of the Ferris wheel and the swings was really, really cool.
Yeah.
And
then I'm also wondering if they're gonna, when it is released, if they're gonna keep it as one long track, or if they're gonna try to track it like TED tapes into movements.
That would be cool. But for now, it's on lgoose.net as Jam. Neil was very happy about me doing a set list thread last night. Had to.
Yes.
Well, that brings us to the end of talking about the all improv set last night, which was really special. And I just hope that, I don't know, this has some effects on them in the future, because I've never done something like this in front of a crowd before. So I'm curious to see if maybe at some point we see another all improv set somewhere, which would be amazing. Or if we see some of these ideas and themes kind of make their way into the jamming when they come back this summer.
El Gonzo would be a nice place to do that.
Yeah, a little late night in the round all improv set, surprise 2:00 in the morning. No one's ever done anything like that before at a festival.
No, never.
It'd be really cool. But anyway, that brings us to the close of Luna Luna. We're very, very grateful, to have been there last night, and for Goose, putting on such an amazing event. And a nice little treat, because, I didn't think I was seeing Goose again for another 2 months. So, getting to, see them last night was amazing. And yeah, next up is Jazz Fest, and then Viva El Gonzo and Summer Tour. So it's going to be a while, but really looking forward to all of those. But Garrett, thank you so much for joining me today. Getting back to Seattle in time to do the pod. And thanks for everybody for tuning in to this episode of Always Almost There Day After Show Live. We will see you next time. We'll be live. We'll probably be in 6 weeks or so after Jazz Fest. So we will talk to you then. And thanks everybody for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your week.